Alright guys, this is going to be a sort of broken up tutorial on how to mod Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I've already done a tutorial on how to do character mods for this game, but people complained that it was too long, it didn't have audio, the text was too small, etc, etc. So I'm just going to re-record this. I'm going to go step by step through everything. I just finished re-downloading the game, so basically if you've never modded this game before, I'm going to show you the exact same steps that you would do if you've never done this before, which also means downloading the custom engine. I'm already worried about that. But regardless, we're going to go step by step through everything. A lot of the stuff that we're going to do in Blender is going to be stuff that you could apply to other games you mod, so hopefully this is something that you could use if you ever go on to mod other video games. So first thing is obviously you want the game downloaded. After you have that, we're going to need Blender. If you've never downloaded Blender, you're just going to go to blender.org, go to download. The version that's up right now is 4.5, but I recommend using an older version simply because a lot of modding tools available for Blender sometimes don't work with the newer releases, so I recommend using Blender 3.6 for this, just in case you ever want to mod other games. I mean, you can have multiple versions of Blender, but why would you? So I already have that downloaded. I'm going to go ahead and open it up here. And there's a couple of settings we have to set up when we open up Blender for the first time. Alrighty, a couple of things we have to do. We can close this, or hold on, let me screencast my keys. Alright, I'm just going to close this tab by right-clicking. We're going to have to change a little bit in the scene. First thing we want to do is hit the scene property, go to units, and change the unit scale to 0.01 and the length to centimeters. This is just because when we import into Unreal Engine, if you want things to be scaled correctly, they need to be like this. If we leave it at 1 and at meters, we're going to have a giant model in the game. We're not going to be able to see anything, and we're going to think something's broken because it is. I'm going to delete what's in the scene already. You can hit A to select all and then X to delete. Blender uses a lot of like shortcuts like this, but you can also just do it manually by using stuff up here. I'm also going to delete this collection, and we're going to go ahead and find the character that we want to mod. Alright, so once we have kind of this set up, we're going to open up fmodel. I already have that downloaded, so let me open it up. But to find fmodel, be right here. You can just look up fmodel and it will take you here. You could use umodel, but this is just a little bit easier, a little bit more streamlined instead of downloading multiple versions of umodel. So I have already the game downloaded or open here, but when you first download fmodel, it's gonna have this open to select a directory. So you can go ahead and I will do it with you. It's just gonna restart. So we're gonna go ahead and find where our games files are at. If you open up Steam, go to the game. You're gonna go to manage settings, properties, and your installed files. You can go ahead and browse to where you have the game installed. You can just go ahead and copy this folder path, and if you hit these three dots, you can go ahead and paste it here. We just need the folder, so we don't have to click on the exe. It's not going to show up anyway. And this is going to show up. Obviously the game is detected, but this game uses a custom version of 4.26, so we can't use 4.26. We have to kind of scroll up and kind of slowly look to see game Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's not in order, but it's right here. I'm going to click that. You're going to hit OK. It's going to restart. And once it restarts, it's going to load in everything. I have more than what you would have unless you've added mods to the game before, which is why I have all these extra packs. But if you haven't, you're just going to see these pack chunks. To see everything in the game, we're going to change our loading mode from multiple. I think that's what it's defaults at. We're going to change it to all. We're going to go ahead and hit load. It's going to take a while, but then it's going to complete. And it will be your end. If you have mods in, if you have dress code, if you even know what that is, this is why you're going to see this extra folder. It's not that one. It's going to be the first end. So go ahead and open it up, go to content, and here is basically everything that's within the game. Obviously this is a character modding tutorial, so we're going to go to character, player, because we're going to mod Cloud, and here's all the playable characters. You know, you have enemies here, I forgot, non-player, kind of like your extra NPC characters. But we're modding Cloud. So obviously Cloud has a bunch of different outfits that we could choose as our base to mod, but I would suggest to choose his Costa Clothing 2 model. That's where he's shirtless and he's wearing pants. The least amount of clothes you have on a model, the easier it is to weight paint, because you're not dealing with extra clothes physics or anything like that. So I'm gonna open up his Costa 2 folder, go to model, and here we have basically everything that makes this model move, sort of, except the skeleton. Don't worry about all this stuff. You're gonna be like, what is that? We're gonna go through that later. First you want to just make sure that you can open up the actual skeletal mesh, which is the model that you see. I have two of them here because I think I've modded his Costa outfit into probably another character. I don't know which one it is, so I'm just gonna randomly select one and figure it out. Alright, so this is a mod I put in, so it's not this one, which means it's this one. If this doesn't open up for you right away, you're probably missing a mappings file. To add that in, you're gonna go to settings, general, and you're gonna look for a local mapping file. It doesn't look like I need it, but for some reason if you do, you can hit this and look up the mappings file. I'll leave it in the description of the video in a little document just in case you need this mappings file, but I opened it up without it, so you should be okay. So let's close that. If we double click this again, you can see Cloud here. So this is the model that we're gonna extract and we're gonna create our modding base from. To save, or before we save, we want to go to settings and we want to change where this is gonna get saved. Right now my output directory for like textures and stuff is the previous folder that I chose, so I'm going to change that to the Rebirth folder that we created. So I'm just going to hit select folder, and then we also have to change one for models, which is where the actual model is going to be. We're going to be using PSK simply because I think it's just easier to use. You have other formats. Don't use OBJ simply because that won't take a skeleton with it. So we're going to leave it at PSK and we're just going to change where that's saved back in our Rebirth Modding folder. It's going to hit OK. It's going to restart. We're gonna hit, once it's done loading, we're gonna load all, and we're gonna go back to where we were. Okay. Making sure we have the right one. Alrighty. So another reason why I think fmodel is a little bit better than umodel is because you have a lot of information that you would have to use like another program called UAsset GUI to like get all this information, like in terms of what skeleton the mesh uses, what physics asset it uses, what materials it uses. This is all given to you right here. To save this, we're going to go ahead and right click on the model UAsset, and we're going to hit save model. It's going to take a little bit. Alrighty, there we go. It's going to tell you that it's successfully saved, and if we click on this, it's going to open up the folder in which that PSK file is in. Alrighty, now that we have that saved, we can go back to Blender, and we're going to need a plugin for this, which is our PSK PSA import plugin. I'm going to leave a link to this below. In terms of how to put in a plugin into Blender, if you've never done this before, you go to your Edit tab, Preferences, you hit Install, and the way Blender installs things is through zip files. So you don't extract anything, you kind of just find the zip file that you're using. I think it's this one. I'm not going to click on it to reinstall. We would just double click. It would ask you to install, and then you just have to click it on, hit the check mark. Okay. So now we can go ahead and put in cloud. We're going to hit our import. We're going to go to the folder in which we put in cloud. It's end, content, character, player, cloud. Not this one. Let's try this one. There we go. Alrighty, it's gonna take a little bit, or you can just obviously just copy the file path here if you want. You don't have to touch anything here in terms of settings, so don't even look at this. Oh, there we go. It just decided to work. Alrighty. So you're gonna see cloud is gonna be super big. That's fine. He's like human sized. And when you see it, he's gonna be facing sideways. The reason why is that he's gonna be facing a different, what is this? X-axis, I believe. So to see him from the front, we can hit 3 on our numpad, and that brings us to this orthographic view. That's what they call it in Blender. You're going to see 2 things here. You're going to see your armature, and you're going to see your mesh. Armature is obviously named armature, and it's designated by this little stick figure guy. And meshes or objects are this triangle, and it's named like it was in fmodel. I'm just gonna hide the armature. I'm gonna hit N just to close this menu, and we're gonna hit Z. Z is to show the different viewport renderings. You can have wireframe, which is going to be useful when we do weight painting. Material preview is when we have stuff on the model, we don't have anything on. And then solid view. I like to add something to the solid view by going to the shading tab up here and hitting random. This is just so we can have a little bit of a visual difference when we start adding things, when we start taking things apart on the model. So we can do that. Now we can go ahead and import the model that we're going to mod. At this point, you should know what you're going to be Modding. I think I already have it downloaded, what I'm going to be doing. Do I? I do not. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and download what I am going to be using. 1 second. Not Discord. Darn it. Favorites. And I'm going to be putting this Ever Crisis Glenn outfit, actually the entire character, over Cloud. I'm going to go ahead and download it. Ready? Okay. Go ahead and extract this. And if I go into model, this is going to be an FBX file. This is something that Blender natively supports, so I'm just going to go to my import tab under file, look up FBX, and find my file again. So when you import it, it's going to be super tiny most of the time, which is why I always suggest putting in the vanilla game model first and then your custom model in, just so you don't accidentally resize the wrong way. So this uses a bunch of what I call like empty groups. I'm gonna go ahead and delete these. So I'm gonna hit this armature. I'm gonna hit Alt P, and that's to clear parent. And we're gonna hit clear and keep transform. That basically takes our model out of this empty group. As to what these do, I have no idea. I've never had a reason to ever use these. So I'm just going to delete them by clicking X, as you can see in the bottom. Alrighty. So now we're going to resize our model. If we hit N, we can open up this tab again, and we're going to hover over item. And here we can see our scale. So we're going to change our scale. It's always good to start out with scaling stuff by 100. Most of the time it gets you to where you need to be, and then you just have to scale a little bit. So we're going to hit the first scale axis. Actually, let me go back. And I'm just going to drag down so we can change all three numbers at the same time. And I'm going to hit 100. There we go. Obviously, he's facing the wrong way, so we're going to go ahead and rotate him on the Z axis by hitting 90 degrees. And now we have him facing the right way. Obviously, as you can tell, Glenn is taller than Cloud by a bit. So we're going to go ahead and scale him down. Now we're going to actually do this kind of manually. We do this by making sure that our armature is still selected. And we're going to hit S, and we're just going to move up and down until we get the face aligned. You can kind of scoot in a little bit by moving our mouse wheel. Also, using shift and mouse wheel moves the camera like this. If we hit control and mouse wheel, we can zoom in a little bit cleaner than just using the mouse wheel. Okay. Alright, so if I zoom in, still making sure that my armature is selected, we're gonna move around the face a little bit. Kind of, you want to align the eyes as much as you can. You can go ahead and hit 1, kind of move around. If you hit control 1, you can move to the opposite side. And then we can kind of get rid of some stuff on Glenn's face. He has kind of a lot going on. So let's turn off his eyelashes just to see a little bit better. You can kind of see where Cloud's eyes are. If we hit Z and we go to the wireframe mode and we hit his head, then we hit control root again, that way we move the root bone. Because if we just choose this, all that's going to move is the head. Then everything else is going to be in the wrong scale, in the wrong position. So you want to hit control, and basically you want the most important thing that you're moving to be that bright orange color. So obviously we want the armature, since that's has everything else, every other mesh parented to it. Doesn't matter if it's hidden or not, it'll still move as long as it's parented. We'll talk about that later. But we can hit solid view again. If you go to the side and we hit wireframe, now we can see the outline of Glenn's face, and we can kind of move a little bit to where Cloud's face is. I don't want that selected. Alrighty. So now we can move along the axes. So to move in Blender, to move something in Blender, use the G button. Obviously doing like this isn't the best way to do it, just by, hitting G. So obviously to undo also is Control Z, by the way. But to move in a certain axis, you want to hit G and then whatever axis you're going to move in. So it's going to be GY. Oh, I forgot it's not GY. GX to move back and forth, because I forgot we're facing sideways. So I'm just going to move him back a little bit, kind of. I can't perfectly align the mouth, but I can try to see if I can get his eyes a little bit better. So I'm going to also select his eye now. Make sure Control select the armature. And we're going to move it basically to where the eye is. I can see that the eye for Cloud is like right here. So we're going to just guesstimate. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. Where that is for Glenn. If you go back into solid view and 3, you can kind of see that we got it as closely as we can for now. We can move it a little bit later if we need to. But that is how you scale a character to fit Cloud. Now we can go ahead and hide Cloud, and we're going to worry about this custom model that we have in. Now that we've moved everything, we can go ahead and hide the armature. We don't need that there anymore. We can unhide the eyelashes, and we're going to go ahead and add in our textures to this Glenn model. The reason why we want to do this is so we know what it's going to look like in the game. So we can hit Z, material preview. See, it looks a little bit funky just because it's an FBX file, which does like weird things with the metallic map or the metallic node. But we're gonna go over to the shading tab. You can hit 3 again, that way we're facing the front, and move it to where we can see our character. And we're gonna start going one by one through all the different mesh parts that this has. Sometimes you'll have a model where you share the same materials and you can go ahead and join them together. It's probably going to happen here, so I'll show you. When you open up a character, like Cloud for instance, if I hit on Cloud and I go to the material properties down here, I have all the materials he has, which kind of correspond to textures. Sometimes you have multiple materials even though they use the same textures, but they're going to be empty. As you can see, there's nothing here. You can see that because the used nodes is unticked. So if we tick that in, this is what you're going to see first. This principled BSDF, your metallic is going to be 0, specular is 0.5, same thing with the roughness. On FBX files, for some reason, it likes to put the metallic to 1, sometimes the specular to 1 or some other number. So what we're going to do is we're just going to edit this really quick. If you hit the metallic, you want to change that to 0. specular to 0.5, and roughness, let's change it back to 0.5. Alright, obviously we could already see that caused a difference because we don't have that metallic all the way up. And also most of the time you're not going to have this attached, so we can delete that. Alrighty. So we can start adding in our textures for this. So to open up a image or a texture node, we're going to hit Shift A and then S to type, and we're going to type in image. This brings this up. We're going to hit open, and we're going to find where our custom model was at. Just right here. These are all the textures. Obviously you can see this only has really 3 textures. It has the body, the eye, and the face. That's it. So all these little split up meshes we're gonna have to combine at one point. Oh, and his hair as well. So we're gonna go through that later, but let's start with his body because that's what we chose first. Click this body texture, and we're gonna apply it to the base color. That's gonna give us our first part. Next, we hit Shift D to duplicate the texture that we created, and by doing this, if we hit this open image, it's gonna put us back in the same folder that we were in before. This is an Ever Crisis model, which means that it has PBR, I think that's what it's called, PBR textures, which means that textures are channel packed. Most of the time this is like helpful because a lot of the games have stuff like this, or you know, PBR textures, stuff packed in image channels, but Rebirth doesn't use that, so we're gonna have to extract these. So use something like Photoshop or Photopea, and I'll show you how to extract that. That way we can use these textures right away in Blender and also when we go to Unreal Engine. So I'm gonna open up Photoshop. Alright, once Photoshop is open, it's just something I was working on before. Go obviously to where you have that custom model and find those textures. So what I like to call my non-color maps are going to be this MROX. So we have one for the face, for the hair, and for the body. None for the eye, it looks like, which is fine. But we also want to open up something else. We want to open up our normal map. Usually normal maps are really easy to spot because they're this kind of light blue color. Obviously you don't see anything like that here. Instead we have this like pink color map. For some reason Ever Crisis is a Unity based game, so it uses this pink map. I will show you how to change that into a basic normal map. So we're going to open up these 5 textures, and we're going to start with our normal maps. So once you have a normal map open, it might be locked, you just want to unlock it, go to your channels tab, and we just want to move where certain channels are at. First we're going to move our green channel. So we're going to hit Control A to select all, Control C to copy, go back to our red channel and hit Control V to paste. Next, obviously you can see that our green, which is what we just copied from, and our blue channel are the same, but our alpha map is different. So we're going to copy this one next. Same thing, Control A, Control C, and now we're going to paste this into the green channel. We're going to override what was here. There we go. I think we pasted, right? Yeah. Alright, we pasted that in. Now we want to go ahead and delete this alpha map. We don't have a need for it in a normal map, so we're just going to go ahead and delete. And this blue map we're going to white out. So you're just going to hit your color over here, make sure you're selected on white, hit your paint bucket, and make sure your tolerance is very, very high, just so it completely fills it in. And now when you go back to layers, you have a regular normal map. You can go ahead and export this by right clicking on it and saving it back here as face N, face normal map. Alrighty, so we do the same thing for this one. I'm not going to show you because it's the same thing. Instead, I'm going to show you just how to extract this and how to know what a metallic map is, a roughness map is, and what a occlusion map looks like. So obviously make sure that it's unlocked. Go to your channels tab again, and you're going to see 3 used channels. So you may be wondering, which one is which? Usually the name of the texture will tell you what each channel belongs to. So this is called an MROX. So M stands for metallic. It's going to be completely black, simply because metallic maps in games work in black is occluded or not part of the texture, and white is visible. So anything in a metallic map that's white will be metallic in the game. Obviously our skin isn't metallic, which is why we have this blacked out. So I'm going to hit Control A, Control C, and I'm going to add in a new layer and paste it in. I'm going to export it, and I'm going to call it Face MR. The reason it's going to be called MR instead of metallic is because this is how Rebirth names textures. So it's going to be MR. And we're going to go ahead and save it. We can hide it and then go back to this, go back to our channels. Next is R. R stands for our roughness map. This is what makes stuff either dull or glossy or shiny in games. The whiter something is, the duller it will be, and the darker or blacker something is, the shinier it will be, which is why this is kind of like in a medium area, because our skin naturally has oil to it. So we can go ahead and save this, and this will be saved as face MG, because this was the green channel. Hide that. And our last layer is O, and O stands for our occlusion map. Occlusion is what gives shadows to the model. A lot of games don't have real-time shaders set up, simply because that takes a lot on the game, and usually the game sucks to play. If you've ever played Jedi Survivor, you would know. It's because that game has real-time shading. This game doesn't, which is a good thing. So it has a texture that creates shadows for the model, which is what we see here. So you can just hit Control A, Control C, do the same thing, paste it in, and instead of this being called MB, we're just going to call it Face O, because that's what occlusion maps are called in game. Go ahead and do the same for your other MROX textures, and once that's done, you can go ahead and come back to Blender and we can import those textures. So I will be right back. Alright, so once you're done extracting all your textures, if you were lucky enough and you didn't have to do this, congrats, whatever. We can go ahead and plug these into our principal BSDF node. So we're going to open up our, what is it? Our body MG, which is our roughness map. Anything that's not a color map, you want to change the color space to non-color. Alright, it's actually going to make a difference, as I will show. I'm going to plug this into the roughness map. This is what it looks like when it's non-color. And if I do sRGB, you don't see that much, but it becomes really shiny. This is going to be a problem when you do it in game. If you don't create a non-color, or in terms of Unreal Engine 4, if you don't untick the sRGB, everything's going to look super glossy. You're going to be like, what's wrong with it? It's because it has to be non-color. I'm going to Shift D again. We're going to open up our metallic map, non-color again, and plug that in. So you can see that made this metallic. And the last texture that we need, even though we do have the occlusion map, we're not going to plug that in because we don't need to. You don't really need that for like a Blender preview. We're going to do our normal map. You probably won't have this open, so I'm just going to delete this and show you how to get that. Just go ahead and take this color node, drag it out, and type in normal map and hit color. That way you have this plugged into the right spot, and from normal, you're going to go to your normal. I didn't explain it before, but normal is what gives stuff like depth, kind of like, also used to be called like a bump map, because it kind of makes stuff bumpy. Makes it feel more 3D. Without having to do like actual modeling detail. You can just do it with a texture. Alrighty, so once I have that in, let me hide cloud. It's kind of in the way. We would go ahead and do the same thing with every other object you have. The same principle applies. I'm going to show you how to do hair, just so you know how to plug in the alpha map, which is what, obviously gives stuff transparency. So I'm going to go ahead and hit A and X to delete everything that was down here. I'm going to hit the body again. I'm going to hit A, and I'm going to copy this, just so when I open up textures and replace them, I'm in the correct folder already. So I'm going to hit open image. I'm going to find my hair. I didn't open a metallic map for this simply because it's going to be black. Your hair isn't really metallic. So I'm just going to delete that. I do have an MG map, but I don't have a normal map, which is fine. So I'm just going to delete it, and you can leave this here. It's not going to make a difference. Obviously, when you look at his hair, we see the hair textures, but we don't see any transparency, what makes hair look like hair. So while you're still in this material settings, you want to go down to settings, and in blend mode, you want alpha hashed. Nothing has changed so far because we haven't told this shader node that we have an alpha map to use. So we can just drag this alpha from the color map, because we can see that there's transparency here. Some games have it where you have a separate alpha map, which is what Rebirth uses, but for now I'm not going to make one right this second. I'm just going to plug this in to my alpha node, and we have hair. So that's how you use something with transparency. It doesn't have to be hair. This fur on his cloak is also going to use that, but that's how you create transparency in an object. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the rest of my shaders, and then we will come back. Alright, now that I have all that done, I finished putting in or applying all the textures to Glenn. I can go back to my layout and I can see what my character looks like. Alright, reason I chose this character, by the way, is because he has a cape. Just so we can show you how to merge skeletons and deal with cape physics and all that fun stuff. Alrighty, so here's our character. If you would like, it's not necessary because we're just going to be using Cloud as a base, and we don't really need him other than his eyes and his mouth. But if you would like, you can do the same thing and apply textures to Cloud. I'm not going to do that. But this is going to be where we stop for part 1, because I don't want this to get too long. But in the next video, we will show how to pose and rig this character. Alright.